So now we're going to have a chance to hear from specific businesses that will kind of bear out some stories that John was describing and get their point of view on what we should be thinking about next. And the business plan focuses on traded sector companies. Everybody know what a traded sector company is? Wow, that's worse than I expected. So I will give you my expert economist's explanation of what a traded sector company is and why it's important. A traded sector company is basically a company that creates something in Oregon and sells it outside of Oregon. Well, that sounds great if you're doing that, but if you're not doing that, why is that important to you? And it was described to me this way: if you and I are in community, we live in the same community, you have a business, I have a business, we have a pot of money that is in this community. You sell me something, I sell you something, we exchange money. The money moves, that's good. Moving money is good, but the pot doesn't grow. And the way the pot grows is if I create something that I can then sell to somebody in China or in Wisconsin, and it brings more money back into the pot that we have together. So we focus really keenly on the health of the traded sector companies in this region, because without real strong gasoline in their engine, the whole economy doesn't move forward. We're going to start today by looking at the high-tech sector, which is the largest traded sector industry in the state. 58,000 employees. What would your guess be the annual payroll generated in that industry would be? That's a really good guess, but no. Anybody? 500 million? Anybody else? 6 billion. That was a staggering number to me. 58,000 employees, $6 billion in annual revenue. It is, and of course, it is large companies like Intel, but it is also a plethora of companies that are doing amazing work and work that is being generating income and relationships around the world. And we're going to start by hearing from Intel. We're going to hear from Keith Larson, who is the Vice President at Intel Capital. And then we're going to get to hear from Sam Blackman, who is the CEO and founder of Elemental. So please join me in welcoming Keith Larson, the Vice President of Intel Capital.
Thanks a lot, Chris. And for those people that do know me, you definitely know I'm not going to start singing. Hello, good morning, and on behalf of Oregon's largest private employer, Intel, where more than 17,000 employees and more than 5,200 contractors are working out in Washington County, we're pleased to participate in another gathering of the Oregon Business Leadership Summit. I'm Keith Larson. As Chris mentioned, I'm a Vice President and Managing Director of Intel Capital, which is Intel's strategic investing and merger and acquisition organization. I've also served as the chair of the Oregon Investment Council for the past 2 years, along State Treasurer Ted Wheeler. And our mission at the OIC is really to invest the state's funds wisely. We are responsible for investing more than $70 billion for the state in such funds as the Oregon Public Employees Retirement System and the State Accident Insurance Fund. We're very proud of the investment returns that we've been able to achieve. And in fact, our investment returns lead the nation in all public funds for more than $1 billion in size. And we'd welcome your review. Go check us out online. So this was an exciting year at Intel. We welcomed a new management team. Brian Krasanich is our CEO, and Renee James is our new president. Both have helped invigorate the organization and really got us focused on some of the new initiatives that we'd like to drive. But before I tell you what's next at Intel, I want to give you a brief background on why students need STEM and a small STEM lesson later on. As outlined in this book by Richard Brenson, it relates to really exams. The teacher had asked the class to solve the following problem. And I would like you to try and follow along in your head and see if you can solve this problem as well. Steve is driving his car. He's traveling at 60 feet per second, and the speed limit is 40 miles per hour. Is Steve speeding? Well, one of the students answered, He could find out by checking his speedometer. Now, I know all of you can do much better than that, so I want to show you a little Christmas ornament that I plucked off of my tree at home. And I want you to study the size of this, because I'm going to come back to this ornament later on. So what's next for Intel? Intel's vision is to create and extend the computing technology to connect and enrich the lives of every person on the planet. To succeed in carrying these out, we're going to do 4 things. First, we need to reinvigorate our core business by making the PC magical again. And we want to ensure that Intel technology remains as the best choice for cloud computing and the data center, which I think you all know is 2 very rapidly growing areas. Second, we will extend Intel solutions into adjacent market segments and bring thrilling new experiences to the smartphone, the tablet, your car, and other embedded devices around the world. Third, we will connect these devices to create a continuum of computing. The continuum will give people a new set of secure, consistent, personalized computing experiences that they will really come to love. And finally, we'll work to inspire the next generation. We will focus our special care on our people and the planet. Intel's cutting-edge process technology delivers performance over a large dynamic range of devices, ranging from high-performance PCs and servers to smartphones. In this way, we're bringing Moore's Law to a much broader array of devices, and we remain the world's leading semiconductor manufacturer. What I'd like to do now is let me give you a little bit of a recap on some of the Oregon highlights for Intel. So here in Intel, home to Intel's largest and most comprehensive site in the world, we are building the second module of the new D1X development fabrication facility at Ronald Acres campus in Hillsboro, and will be ready to install the equipment in late 2014. We are also upgrading and prepping other Ronler facilities for our 22 nanometer and 14 nanometer nodes. So now I want to bring the little ornament back out again, because I often get asked the question of, well, what the heck is a nanometer? And so your STEM lesson of the day is to visualize how small a nanometer really is. If a meter is the size of the Earth, the nanometer is the size of this ornament, just to put things into perspective. So, of course, it can't be seen with the human eye since it's 1/1000th of a meter. But now let me take you back to the Oregon highlights. As the Oregonian noted in its Thanksgiving Day editorial, those smartphones and tablets that we all have come to love and rely upon would not work without computer chips or software, and neither would our economy. High technology has led the Portland metro area out of the Great Recession, and much of this growth can be traced to Intel's expansion in a bevy of technology startups that you'll hear more about today, many of them software-oriented. These emerging companies are important to driving the pace of innovation and building ecosystems and clusters that grow the economy. At Intel Capital, we invested over $150 million last year in US-based, high-growth companies that drive technology and build those ecosystems. Since we started investing in the mid-1990s, we've invested in more than 1,300 companies, and we've had exits in more than 500 companies, either through IPO or acquisitions. Now I'd like to focus on a couple of specific topics to go a little bit more, highlights to really go into a little bit more depth on. First is really an exciting based partnership between Intel and the Oregon Health and Sciences University here. As Intel President Renee James recently shared at the Intel Developers Forum, along with OHSU's Brian Drucker, 1/3 of all women and more than 1/2 of all men will be diagnosed with cancer in their lifetime. Early detection and treatment are key to saving lives, and customization of treatment to the individual makes a profound difference in its effectiveness. As Dr. Drucker said, delivering personalized cancer care requires collecting enormous amounts of data, which means we need enormous compute power to discern what's going on with the cancer. This collaboration combines Intel's strengths in developing energy-efficient, extreme-scale computing solutions with OHSU's lead in visualizing and understanding complex biological information. You'll hear more today about the big data project from OHSU's Dr. Drucker, and we're very proud of him and the work that they're doing in this multidisciplinary collaboration and expect to be back next year at the summit to tell you more. The second highlight I'm going to discuss in detail occurred last Friday, December 6th. Governor Kitzhaber signed a tax agreement with Intel to provide tax certainty for the next 30 years. This opportunity was made available by a special session of the legislature in December 2012. Intel will invest $500 million and create 500 new jobs, which is 3 times the investment level required by the legislation. It's really an astounding amount. The qualifying investment for the D1X Module 2 in support buildings at Intel Ronald Acres campus is what the investment will be used for. And this is a distinct and in addition to the investment we made in our D1X Modular 1 development. And in fact, Intel has invested more than $25 billion in Oregon since 1974, and the expansion continues. Oregon has done a number of things well over the past several years to position itself as extremely competitive for companies such as Intel to invest. Tax stability and certainty are critical factors for companies that choose to make significant investments in the state. Governor, all of us at Intel and the business community, thank you for helping create the right investment climate. Now, I want to shift gears and discuss what Intel is doing to support the Oregon business plan. There's plenty of good progress made in Oregon thanks to the work you all are doing. In the latest economic checkup that was done as part of the Value of Jobs study, we know the economy is improving and we are creating jobs. But we cannot rest. There is much more to be done to grow the number of higher paying jobs that support families and provide public services. You have just heard John Carter give a progress update on the 2013 Oregon Business Plan initiatives. It is up to all of us to implement the business plan, and I want to talk about some key efforts that Intel is working on at the state level and in our local communities to support those strategies. Intel supported the Oregon STEM Employer Coalition that was housed in the Oregon Business Council. That effort led to the passage of legislation that created the Oregon STEM Investment Council that is now under the leadership of Oregon Chief Education Officer Dr. Nancy Golden. STEM is an acronym that describes the educational programs that focus on science, technology, engineering, and math. The STEM Council will develop a long-term strategy to double the number of 4th and 8th grade students proficient in science and math, to double the number of STEM college graduates by 2025. A number of bills passed into law will prioritize STEM and encourage greater strategic coordination, innovation, and accountability of STEM efforts across Oregon. In addition to Oregon's adoption of the Common Core state standards will boost student performance. These STEM investments will help build a workforce to address critical talent shortages and help create pathways for Oregon students to take advantage of STEM careers across Oregon's industries and improve educational attainment. So the takeaway really is that STEM sells. And no, I don't mean biological cells like Dr. Drucker would talk about. I mean it is much easier for STEM students to sell themselves to employers. Intel is also actively involved in the maker movement, which takes the do-it-yourself approach to the next level by incorporating technology into a broad array of projects, everything from music to to art and robots and applications. Personally, I really want to get a 3D printer for my house. There is a deliberate focus to get students involved with the movement as it introduces young makers to the possibilities of STEM outside the traditional classroom setting. In October, Intel CEO Brian Krasanich announced a collaboration with Intel and Arduino, the leading open source hardware platform in the maker and educational community. The collaboration includes providing the Arduino community with a family of development boards beginning with Intel Galileo, the first Arduino-compatible development board based on one of the latest Intel architecture chips called Quark. As part of this effort, Intel also announced a large-scale education donation of 50,000 Intel Galileo boards to more than 1,000 universities around the world over the next 18 months. The effort is already underway with 17 schools across 6 continents. Intel is expanding the Start Making Camp to 100 computer clubhouses over the next 2 years, including one in Oregon, and locally we support the mini maker fairs for the last 2 years at OMSI. In addition to the maker movement innovation, we continue to support the Oregon Robotics Tournament and Outreach Program, ORTOP. Participation in these LEGO robotics tournaments grew much more than 700% in the last 12 years and successfully engaged thousands of young students throughout Oregon with hands-on activities to create the next generation of innovators. And I think we all know how cool Legos really are to play with. Intel's focus on attracting more girls to STEM careers enabled us at last year's Leadership Summit to showcase Savannah Lohberger, a Hillsborough High School student who is now attending Oregon State University to study computer science and engineering. Her Girls Get It camps are now under the capable leadership of her sister Ashley and a team of innovative students at Hillsborough High. We really need more inspirational students like Savannah and Ashley to collaborate with and invest in so that we are sure our efforts will be relevant and impactful. These are just a few examples of the many opportunities to collaborate. There are many more that you're going to be discussing at today's summit. We will continue to invest in education, early stage companies, and our community. We invite you to join us. Thank you for your continued dedication to this work.